Hi, today I'd like to discuss William's Wordsworth, I Wander Lonely as a Cloud. This poem was written during the Romanticism time period, which was a time period where poets believed in strong emotion and spirituality. I'd quickly like to summarize each section of the poem before I talk about the literary devices. The poem is about someone that goes on a walk and they see hills and valleys and trees, and they see daffodils on a lake bank, and they're just so impressed by the daffodils. They think they are beautiful, and they just can't help but be aware of how graceful and beautiful the daffodils look. And so at the end of the poem, the person that had went on a walk is like in this thinking mood, and they can't help but think about the daffodils again, and it puts them in just the greatest mood. And so the first literary device that I'd like to talk about within this poem is line 1, I wandered lonely as a cloud. The Wordsworth is comparing the person that is going on a walk with a cloud, which is not very likely because clouds and humans aren't the same thing and aren't really even similar. And then the next simile is line 7, continuous as the stars that shine. And Wordsworth is talking about how the daffodils just keep going and keep on, just like the stars in the sky. The stars in the sky seem like they go on forever, just like these fields of daffodils. The next thing that I'd like to discuss in this poem is personification. And a personification is when an author gives human-like qualities to something that isn't human. So Wordsworth really uses dance. He talks about how the daffodils dance in the breeze, and he uses it throughout the entire poem. The first time he uses it, he does it in line 6 when he says they are fluttering and dancing in the breeze. And then he just continues to do it throughout the poem. He also discussed how it looks like they are tossing their heads up in the sky, and they're dancing too in the second section of the poem. Another literary device that Wordsworth uses is imagery, and he uses imagery a lot. Imagery is when an author uses descriptions to make sure that the readers understand what they are reading, and gives them images in their mind. And so one of the first one he uses is line 4. He just says golden daffodils, so anybody that reads that is going to think, oh yeah, golden daffodils. But he also uses words like stretched and sparkling throughout the poem to kind of give just a little bit of description to whatever he is saying, so it just allows the readers to just have a little bit more. He uses consonants and assonants throughout the poem too. I have an example of each. Consonants, line 3 is when all at once I saw a crowd. He's using that W sound. And then I think at the end of the poem, in the last section, it says, which is the bliss of solitude, is an example of assonance because it uses an I sound in it if you really look. Wordsworth, he uses the ideas of emotion regulated in tranquility throughout this poem because this person goes on a walk, but he sees things in life to just make him feel at peace, even if his mind may not be. And I think at the end is a really good example of that because he is at home and he's thinking. And I think oftentimes when people are just in a thinking mood, they think about the bad things, but this person can't help but think about the good things. And I think that is kind of what Wordsworth is doing. He is talking about how we need to enjoy the little things in life, and sometimes we have to do that just by thinking about the good and oh, I woke up this morning, that's a good thing. And I think he's just trying to do that, And so he uses these techniques because uses these techniques, and he uses nature especially because everybody can relate to nature. It's not just something that rich people can think about or poor people can think about, or he's trying to find a common ground for everyone, which is very important for poetry, especially during this time period, because in the past, poetry was just really mainly for the rich, and so this really put, a new view into things.